Now, after such thought-provoking presentations, I'd just like to bring it slightly back to the here and now and say that you are here at STFC today, RAL Space. We are trying to do something about this. I can't say that we're doing everything, and clearly we're not going to achieve it all straight away, but we are doing an awful lot. We've got public school engagement, we've got a whole range of early career opportunities, we support PhDs and beyond. What we're trying to do is make sure that the great science that's taking place across the UK that our facilities help support is really reaching out to as many people as possible, encouraging as many people to take STEM related careers in the future. I would just like to focus in slightly on what we're doing on our early career opportunities. Clearly, these facilities, some of which you may have just been able to glimpse through the fog this morning here at Harwell, but we've also got facilities up in Daresbury, we've got a mine in the northeast, we've got the Royal Observatory up in Edinburgh that we saw on one of the earlier presentations. They are fantastic places for training people up, giving them those engineering, those technical skill sets and digital skill sets as well, because you need a lot of compute to manage all of the data that comes out of these facilities. And so a few years ago, well, about 10 years ago, STFC realised that we were struggling with all the same challenges that probably many of the people in the room are facing here. Retirement, retention challenges, mid-career recruitment being really tricky. So what we did was start to increase our early career opportunities. Our now award-winning apprenticeship and graduate schemes have grown substantially over the last few years. Next year, well, they'll be launched in early January, we will be offering up 50 apprenticeships across our whole footprint. We've just closed our graduate recruitment round for about 80 positions that will start next September. We're also going to have about 80 industrial placement students coming through. Now, despite that high number of opportunities, we know that there is just strong demand for all of them, of 30 to 50 places. And if it's a space opportunity, oh my gosh, the numbers go even higher. So we know there's huge demand out there. And I think one of the points that's come through is we've got to be consistent. If we're going to inspire lots of people, there's got to be opportunities along the way. And we can't just keep saying, oh, there's only 3 opportunities to be an astronaut. We need to make sure that those opportunities are coming through. So I would encourage everybody in this room to do as much as they can to increase those early career opportunities. Because where you're struggling for skills at the moment is because you're looking for people with experience. If you're not bringing them in, training them up to date, in 5 years' time, we're not going to have enough people coming through with that experience. But to tell us more about what it's really like, I would like to introduce one of our apprentices and then one of our graduates, so you can hear just what it's like to be part of our apprenticeship programme. So first of all, can I please introduce Morgan, who's going to tell us all about the apprenticeship programme.
Hello, as you mentioned, I'm Morgan. I am about to tell you about my time as apprentice, in my apprenticeship, outside of my apprenticeship, what I've got up to in my 4 years here. So who am I? I'm a 4th year electrical engineering apprentice on this site, not specific to RAL Space. I am site as a whole, so I work at ISIS, if only you've heard of that. I've worked at CLF, I've worked all across site. I'm currently in RAL Space at the moment, working with the environmental test division over across the road in R100. I don't know if anyone's visited it. I also am the co-chair of the Apprentice Forum, which I'll explain in a second. So my role as an apprentice is to go around different placements, learn and develop as I go, and more importantly, build networks with everyone across site to try and create a good working environment for the future. Everything we do is set for the future, like 5, 10, 20 years time. So everyone knows each other, everyone can work together nice and easily. And the Apprentice Co-Chair, the Apprentice Forum, is it's like a gathering of apprentices where you all discuss everything that you do in your placements or complaints you have with college placements, anything, which I will then report back to management, I'm sort of a link between the apprentices and the management to make sure that the apprenticeship is always up to date on everything it does. Everything is running smoothly. Everyone is very happy and enjoying themselves to some extent. What I've done, they may seem like small menial jobs, but these are the things that make your rockets go, and it all comes down to small things like this air isolation manifold, which all it does is a bunch of switches, turn stuff on and off. You can get rid of the air going to certain sectors of the chamber. It may seem tiny, but this is what, if something breaks, switch it off, people can go in, fix it. There we go. Even stuff like this, it's just a rack. It was a complete mess when I went up to it. All I did was install all this trunking, put some labels on, tidy it all up, and whenever anyone comes back to it, now they can repair it easily. You'll have less time not being able to use the chambers, test your satellites. Yeah. And final job I'm going to show you is this. It's a set of fans. Again, small job, but it's what keeps these power supplies running and going to stop any breakages and delays in any jobs that are happening. Yes, and the more important thing, Apprentice Christmas Do happened only last week. There were more people than this, but as you can guess, after the meal, everyone got a bit separated when we went clubbing. Not many of us remember the night, but I think it went well, I think. But being an apprentice has been able to help me achieve stuff I want to do outside of work. That photo on the left there was only last week. I got to take a trip up to Bristol at the weekend with a bunch of other apprentices, and we all went and saw a band that we all absolutely love. I get to buy drum kits, which, as you can guess, isn't the cheapest. I can afford to run my motorbikes, go clubbing, of course, and I can do the very expensive hobby of film photography. All these things take a lot of time, money, and effort, which being an apprentice has helped me support. It's not all about what you're doing in work. If you don't have something outside of work, you're not going to enjoy your job. You're not going to enjoy life. Yeah, I'd say it's a good scheme. It's very free, and I'm learning a lot while I'm here. Getting a lot of freedom to do stuff, design my own stuff, and hopefully in the future I'll be managing my own apprentices so they can do all the menial jobs I don't want to do myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Morgan. I always find that the apprentices and graduates totally upstage me. They are brilliant advocates, and none of those jobs we were doing, none of them are small. We wouldn't be able to work without all of those things. They are really important. So thank you very much, Morgan. Next, I'd like to introduce Hannah Bilby, who's going to talk to us about the graduate training scheme. But also yesterday, Hannah was a key figure in organising the Early Career Conference, which hopefully some of you were able to join virtually yesterday. There was a whole range of insights into people's career journeys, from those that are at the start of their career and maybe some who are a little bit further into their career, shall we say. But what was really fascinating, actually, was lots of the people that were on that and that were giving the presentations didn't have a background in STEM, yet they were in the space sector, which I thought was really powerful. Over to you, Hannah.
Excellent. Right, yeah, thank you very much for your introduction, Joanna. Good afternoon, everyone. I promise it's nearly lunchtime. Thank you very much for inviting me today, and thank you very much for the previous talks as well, and for your amazing work. I hope to be working with you some point in the future. I really would like to do that. As you can probably see, my name is Hannah Bilby. I'm a junior test engineer at RAL Space on STFC's grad scheme. Today, I'm here to talk a little bit about the RAL Space Early Careers Conference, as Joanna said, happened yesterday, and briefly about the grad scheme. First, I'll just mention my background. After A-levels, I started working towards an integrated master's in mechanical engineering at Lancaster University. And during my third year, I applied for an industrial placement carrying out spacecraft dynamic testing at RAL Space. And luckily, I got the job. On my placement, I worked on shock and vibration testing on spacecraft hardware, developed our processes for monitoring machine health that we use to test the spacecraft, and had the opportunity to apply my vibration test knowledge to another team who wanted to test some laser sensitive equipment. I must have done okay somehow, because at the end of my placement, I was offered a job on the graduate scheme. And I went back to university with a bit more peace of mind, knowing it would be just 1 year before I could return. I started on the grad scheme in September, continuing my work within the same team and reuniting with my colleagues and being able to shake hands for the first time, thanks to previous COVID restrictions. The graduate scheme at STFC has two main parts: the day-to-day job role and its technical training, and the grad scheme specific training and events. As part of the grad scheme, I have so far undertaken public engagement training and attended a 4-day residential at Skern Lodge in Devon, along with my graduate cohort, to develop team skills and leadership, encouraging self-reflection and giving thoughtful feedback. The evening pub trips were very, very well attended. The graduate scheme makes it easy to get involved in lots of projects across RAL and the other STFC sites, including the Engineering Experience Programme, now in its second year, which invites schools to undertake an engineering project led by early career mentors. This year, I am one of 3 mentors for a school team designing the physical and software aspects of an extraterrestrial habitat, guiding them through the engineering decisions they must make. This kind of experience is important in showing students the extent of what engineering can do and where it can take them, as well as supporting students in recognizing their own abilities and interests. Also in its second year is the RAL Space Early Careers Conference. Intended to run alongside the Appleton Conference, it's focused on showcasing the space industry to everyone interested in a career in space, whether that's school, college, or university students, apprentices, young professionals, or people considering switching career or industry. As a placement student, I was on the organizing committee for the inaugural conference in 2021 and chaired the keynote session. Upon my return to the graduate scheme, I wanted to use the learning and momentum from the first conference by contributing to this year's conference, alongside 2 other early career professionals, Emily Bond and Rebecca Harwin. So special thanks to both of them for their commitment and hard work over the past months. This year's conference aimed to highlight different career pathways and the skills required to work in the space sector. Held yesterday morning with around 150 attendees and reaching multiple schools, it was chaired by Dr. Jane Hurley, who you'll hear from later, who also did a marvelous job supporting us, along with Vicky Hall and Caroline Callard and other members of the RAL Space Communications and Public Engagement team. So thank you very much to you all. We had a space skills talk from the UK Space Agency and talks from an Airbus engineer and a RAL Space engineer, covering their respective roles and routes into the space industry. This was followed by a panel with early career professionals from across RAL Space, discussing their skills and careers so far, and their roles, and what inspired them to join the space industry in the first place. A key takeaway, echoed by the speakers and the panelists alike, was for early career people to go out and take advantage of all the opportunities that are offered to them, as you never know where they may take you. Me standing here talking to you today is definitely an example of that. We made the event as interactive as possible, using polls and a Q&A function to engage people from GCSE level and upwards, receiving lots of questions which were answered during the event and some that we can go away and research more. Attendees felt that their awareness of space careers and skills increased, and they would consider a career in the space industry. Engaging young people in these discussions about potential careers at such a pivotal time in their lives is crucial to increasing understanding and inspiring the next generation to consider joining the space industry, and in our case, RAL Space. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank Thank you very much, Hannah. Well, I think you will agree that all of those presentations have really given the opportunity or plenty of food for thought for us to have over lunch. But before we go to lunch, I would just like to encourage everybody to really think about what you've heard today. Think about how we can coordinate and cohere. I'm leading on the sort of skills element and the implementation of the National Space Strategy. So please link with me to talk about some of the things that we can do as a sector as a whole, because really keen to make sure that we do have that coordination coming through. So a final thank you to our wonderful speakers today, clearly given us many things to think about over lunch.